Good morning, guys. Laura here from Hedgehog's Homestead. Today we are pruning tomatoes, so let's get to it. I always have to pick some weeds when I'm pruning my tomatoes or whatever I'm doing in the garden. So I have this tomato here. It's pretty big, and I have some big suckers on it, like this beautiful one here. This beautiful one here. And what you're looking for is you got to split. This is your main branch, and then you got to split in the middle. I'm going to cut that. And since that's a nice big sucker like that, I am going to pot that either in some soil and make sure I water it a lot, or I'm going to put it in some water. And so I'm also looking for leaves that are close to the ground, and I'm going to cut those. Now, I don't always take my suckers like this and do that, but since this year I haven't got a lot of tomatoes and this is a nice big one, I'm going to go ahead and do that because we have time. So I have 3 stems here. That is too many for this plant. So because it gets so hot here in Tennessee, I don't want too much out there. So I'm going to get that stuff that's close to the ground off the ground. And then I do still have, well, I had 4 stems, so I'm going to go ahead and, I just want 2. I'm going to go ahead and cut this 4th one off. And then I'm going to tie these to the trellis here. Straw that I got. I'm just going to tie it close to the base, lightly. This is just a new thing I'm trying. I haven't done this before. But I'm going to go for it. And then I'm going to wrap this around this one a couple times before I tie it to the trellis. And then I'm going to lightly tie it to the trellis. I usually use, and I'll leave it in a link below, I use this tape. It's green, so it doesn't stick out. I prefer that, but this was literally sitting out here, so I grabbed it. And then I have some of this left over, and so we can continue to use it. I'm going to do the same with this one. Just kind of wrap it around and then tie it to the trellis up here. There we go. So I'm going to save this sucker. So I'm going to put this on the bed, and the rest of them I'm going to throw to the chickens. I've never had problems with chickens not doing okay with it, but I don't give them like a whole plant at a time or anything like that. Okay, so this second one I have tied up, but I still have some nice big suckers here that I'm going to cut off. And some stuff close to the bottom that is touching the ground that I don't want touching the ground. This is a smaller sucker, but a sucker. And what a sucker is, it's something that grows in the armpits of your tomatoes. Here, like right, is a start of a sucker. I pull those out. And we have a nice big one here. I've let these grow on purpose so that I would have some suckers this year because I don't have a lot of tomato plants and I need more. So that's why I've let it grow this long on purpose. Now, since I have 2 main branches here, I'm gonna take that off. That I cannot plant as a sucker, unfortunately. So again, taking the leaves off near the bottom so that when it rains, it doesn't get something called blight. He's trying to make another main stem there. And I'm just going for 2 main stems on this plant. 1 and 2. And then this plant that has little suckers growing on it, I'm going to take those little suckers off. And this is, what kind of tomato is this? This is a Roma tomato. So there we go. Now we have 4 suckers that we can use. I haven't been out here because of the rain much, guys. So cutting that stuff that's hanging off towards the bottom. There's a cute little sucker that can still be something. Okay. So this one's kind of twisted up with a carrot plant. This is a carrot back here that's at its 2nd year, so I'm letting it do that. This is a nice big sucker, so I'm taking that. And I'm going to kind of twine this one up inside here. And it's growing another big stem here, so I'm going to take that stem off, which is kind of a sucker too. So I'll try rooting this one and see if it turns into another plant for me. Okay. So this one is a little yellow. This one already has some fruit on it. I don't need any more of these because it's a it's a crazy little plant. It has way too many shoots off of here. And this is your cherry tomato plant here. I kind of like to let these go bushy a little bit, but not too bushy crazy. So we'll let it do a little bit of that. It's literally growing on both sides of this trellis. This that cherry tomato, I don't want any suckers off. You don't really, for a family of 3, we don't need more than 2 cherry tomatoes. So we're not gonna take any suckers from that one. Again, we have last year's carrots growing up in between these. This is a big boy, which isn't that big. So I don't know what the deal is. Looks like it might be trying to get some blight here, so I'm cutting off those lower leaves. We've had so much rain here. And then we do have some suckers. And we have a nice sucker right here, which I could use another big boy. So we'll pull that sucker off and add it to our starts over there. I need to pull some root, some weeds out of here too. Okay, and this is basil here. A companion planting. I like the idea of putting a lot of herbs and stuff around my plants because it kind of wards off the pests like basil. The smell of it, the caterpillars don't like. So, and hornworm is pretty big here. So here's another sucker on this plant. that I can use. And this is a big boy too, and it's so much bigger than this one. So maybe this one needs a little feed. They do need a little feed. So there's some extra stem I don't want. We're gonna let the big boy, since they don't get that tall. Let me see real quick before I make that decision of how I'm gonna prune this. I'm gonna see if this is an indeterminate plant or not. And it is an indeterminate, so I'm gonna take it down to 2 stems. This one too. And why? Because that means it's gonna grow and grow and grow. So we're gonna take it down to 2. And then this one isn't tied up either, so I'm gonna go ahead and tie that up. Now this right here is carrot from last year. This is gonna go to flower, and I'm gonna catch some carrot seed from that. Plus, the pollinators love it. They'll be attracted to the carrot and also fertilize my tomatoes. Isn't that cool? So again, taking off the leaves, any leaves that are touching the ground. And I believe in using what you have around the homestead. If you can't afford a special twine or whatever to tie your stuff up with, it is better to use better stuff, right? But if we can't afford it, we don't go to the store and get it when we can't afford it. So that's what happens when you're married to an accountant. You get frugal. Okay. And that's tied up. Now our next plant here is right here. Pull some weeds while I'm over here. Okay, and then there is little suckers on this one. Let's see what this one is, see if I can find the tag. I bury them kind of deep because we're so windy here. This is another big boy. I'm glad these big boys are big, because we love tomato sandwiches. We cut the stuff off near the bottom so we don't get blight. Now this one's already trellised, so I don't have to do that. But this is the same variety as the last one, so we have 3 stems here. I only want 2 stems. A lot of people go all the way down to 1, but since I don't have that many tomato plants here, I'm doing 2. We have 4 stems here, so there we go. Down to 2, and there we go. That one's well supported already. And then we're gonna go over here. We have our first tomato plant right here. Okay, and this one is just full of, okay, this is actually a sucker right here. So I'm gonna take that. It's got lots of little suckers. Here's another big sucker. Take that. And I'm just gonna kind of take this plant down a little bit. There's a little sucker in between the pits. Another little sucker. I don't need this plant to be too big. What is this? This is a lemon boy, and it is an indeterminate, so there we go. So we have 2. I'm going to put that back in there. So we have 2 suckers off of that one. And then this one is, what is this? This is aroma. I want as many aromas as possible. So even though this sucker is small, I'm going to go ahead and take it. Here's another little sucker. And then bringing it down to 2 stems as well. And that one needs to be tied up. And then here we have, right here, this tomato with all these nice little weeds surrounding it. This is a volunteer, so most likely it is a cherry tomato. And I found it in growing where the dogs manure a lot. And that's how you get volunteers a lot. So, since I didn't have a lot of tomatoes this year, guys, I went ahead and put it in my garden. And it looks fantastic. And then this one, next to it over here, is also a volunteer, looking fantastic. It's got a couple suckers on it. Does need to be tied up. This is also a volunteer. And then, so in a few days, I'll show you if these are rooting, probably in a short somewhere. It's how I usually share that kind of stuff. The suckers, if they're rooting. I'm going to go ahead, but that's all I do. I do 2 stems. Why? Because I don't have a lot of space. So I don't have a lot of growing area for tomatoes. But that's what I'm doing this year. I'm going to grow some suckers. I had a terrible year because I dealt with a lot of fungus gnats. And here's a tip for you that I learned from another gardener, is that you can soak your soil. I've learned it actually from 3 now that I've researched fungus gnats a lot. You can soak your soil for your starts. Let me show you.